It's the Andy Thompson Show on ESPN 97.7.
Store in southern Utah since 1975. Let's go, Larry. Bring it on a Tuesday, buddy.
Skeeter Beaters on the Andy Thompson Show.
Woo! Let's go. We're in a drought, Lawrence. Got to turn it around, buddy. What do we got?
3-2. Down, and Venezuela has won it.
Sport hole, you weren't even close yesterday with your Skeeter beater. What do you got today?
Well, I didn't know that What's-His-Bucket was going to pitch the game of his life for the Dodgers. Holy cow. All right, today's Skeeter beater, you got Little League World Series, Lake Mary, Florida versus Staten Island, New York. Take Florida. What's Staten Island doing in there? They can't be any good. Take the team from Florida. Good weather all year round in Florida, right? How is the American team done in the international series lately versus, whether it's Venezuela or Japan or whoever else is good internationally? Can you look that up, Larry?
Yes.
Because I would guess... I would guess it's about 50-50. Can you look that up?
Yes.
Let's go to Katie Rosen for our first hour look at the National News Desk. Katie, you with us? Let's see. What do we do, Katie? You got her, Larry?
Nice, guys. This show stinks from the Sport Hole National News Center on Bluff Street. I'm Katie Rosen. Oklahoma State's going to wear QR codes linked to NIL funds on their helmets. I'm a man. I'm 40. 6-digit donations away from fielding a team that can win the Big 12. Excuse me. Maui Invitational is going to return to the island after the fires, and UConn tops the field. What? Why are you telling me this now? Who cares? Gabby Williams has re-signed with the Storm after her Olympic silver medal with France. All right, but she doesn't worship that blue guy in the diaper, right? Today's Sport Hole National News is brought to you by Lawrence's mom. From the Sport Hole National News Center on Blood Street, I'm Katie Rosen, ESPN 97.7.
Thank you, Katie. Sorry for the flub there, Larry, on the transition. We'll hear again from Katie right around 5 o'clock, right?
Yes.
You with us, Larry?
Yes.
All right.
The Sport Hole.
Sports.
2-minute drill.
1-0 delivery. Hammered down the line in right field, and it is fair and slides into third for an RBI triple.
Presented by Ideal Home and Auto Paints.
Touchdown! 27 yards. They make it look so easy.
Eric Segmiller being featured prominently in the Sport Hole today. What do you got, Sambo?
Sport hole. Who is your weekly All-Region 9 team for Week 1 of high school football?
Weekly team for All-Region 9. Here it is, Larry, based on stats. So this is like fantasy football. Individual performances. At quarterback, you got to go with Levi Shaw. 351 yards and 6 touchdowns. 28 of 52. Pretty dang good. 2 interceptions in that game against Manti in Week 1. But what a debut by Levi Shaw, who everybody said, look, this kid knows the offense forward and back. He's put in the film work, the study time. Coach's son, right? He knows football. So that's our quarterback. Running back, McCord Christiansen. Crimson Cliffs High School, 22 carries, 108 yards, 4.9 yards per carry, picking up where he left off last year in a tough away start to the season on the road for Crimson Cliffs. They got great performances from McCord and from Malachi Lofapo and from McKay Wright. Let's go go to the next one. Top receiver, Corbin Yoakum. Pineview High School, 8 receptions, 113 yards, and touchdowns. Now, we're doing this by yards. He was the leading receiver by receiving yards. His teammate, Brock Harris, 3 touchdowns in that game, right? Go to defense. Top tackler, McKay Wright. 14 tackles, 8 solos, 6 assists. Nothing new there for McKay. Best linebacker in the state last year and likely this year as well. Then the top sack man was Brock Muoy from Desert Hills. 2 sacks for the Thunder on the road against Faith Lutheran. Thoughts about this week? Snow Canyon's got to get it going offensively against Manti. Manti put up 58 against Pineview. I don't think they'll be able to put up that many against Snow Canyon, but Snow Canyon's defense looked awesome in week 1 against Stansbury. So I think the defense is looking pretty good for Snow Canyon. Offense obviously needs more output. Crimson and Desert Hills are going to have to brawl. Crimson's playing Bingham at home. Bingham lost week 1 by a couple of scores, but it's Bingham. And then Lehigh's coming down to play Desert Hills. Lehigh won 38-13 against Davis, the Darts, in week 1. Both those teams are going to have to brawl. They're punching up a weight class or 2 in those games. Dixie probably needs a second playmaker on offense. Here's Coach Blaine Monkers from the Blaine Monkers Coaches Show yesterday talking about, besides Rand Sawyer, who could that be? What do you got, Larry?
Dante Ochoa, who was the other wideout, couple balls, caught a touchdown pass the other night on a wide receiver screen. And as he goes along, he's going to be good. He's going to be, as he learns more about the offense and what we're trying to do, and just becomes a little more familiar and gets a little more varsity games underneath his belt, he's going to be a good player for us.
That was Coach Mockers. You hear him just about every Monday here on your local sports leader. Bad news out of Dixie High was that Kason Grover sustained a season-ending injury in week 1, which is devastating because he was basically their primary receiver, an excellent blocker on the edges in the run game. So it's horrible that he's out for the rest of the year. But Coach Monker's optimistic about other guys stepping up. Pineview, I know they put up the offense. They play Canyon View in week 2. Canyon View beat Mountain View 21-3. Jace Floyd, the quarterback for the Falcons, threw for $135. Pineview's thing is defense. Hurricane plays Moapa. Moapa beat Durango in week 1, 27-0. This is usually a team that Hurricane can compete with. And so I'm feeling pretty good about this game in week 2 for Hurricane. And then Cedar has Bear River. Bear River won 31-7 in week 1. That's your outlook. Region 9 game day coming your way Friday, starting at 5 p.m. on ESPN 97.7. Thank you, Larry.
The Sport Hole.
Sports.
Looking to throw this time. Hillman Kasuga dumps it off. It is complete. And, well, it's going to be a touchdown after all of that as they spun backwards, and Krishan Lee with his first touchdown.
Sport Hole. How do you feel about your boy Jerome Miles getting upstaged in week 1 at Corner Canyon?
Corner Canyon, or as I call them, Full Family Move Canyon. Kasuga was great. He had 6 touchdowns and like 400-something yards passing, but most of it, you're right, it wasn't to Jerome Miles, it was to that other kid. It was to Krishan Lee, right?
Yes.
He had 3 touchdowns and 268 yards or something, right?
Yes.
So Jerome Miles has officially named his top 5: USC, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas A&M, and the Runnin' Utes. And that's because Isaac Wilson, his former buddy and quarterback, likely to be the number 1 guy for Utah next season. So he's the top, Jerome Miles, the top guy out of the class this year in Utah. So it was crazy to see, because Krishan Lee's just a little, kind of joystick slot receiver who made a bunch of catches and just was awesome in week 1 for Corner Canyon. It looks like they're going to be unstoppable again this year. Thank you, Larry.
The Sport Hole.
Sports.
Johnston in the starting lineup early in the season for UAB. McBride sent down. a loss of 3.
Sport Hole. Should Tyler Batty be ranked 9th on KSL's top 60?
Tyler Batty's 9th on KSL's 60 top players in college football in the state of Utah. I mean, I would say in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. And Batty has led a defensive line who hasn't been good over the last couple of years, both years in tackles for loss and every meaningful category for a defensive lineman. Quarterback hurries and that type of stuff. I think if you compare his stats with Van Fillinger, who's Utah's edge, one of their edges this year, Fillinger was 11th on the list. You compare their stats, they're pretty even, except for Batty a little bit higher on the tackle total. So I'm fine with that. Other more recent names that have been released in the top 60, Mekhi Bernard was number 10, which I think I'm fine with because you still got, in the top 8, you've got Cam, you've got Keithy, you've got Lander Barton, you've got Junior Tafuna probably. I mean, definitely. And, some others. I'm trying to think of other Utah guys who are going to make that list. You got the receiver, Jalen Royals from Utah State, who's going to be in there. So you're running out of room, basically. So Bernard 10th, fine. And by the way, we like Tyler. Tyler Batty is like the pig farmer. He's from Payson High. He's been great for them. BYU the last few years, 6'5", 280 defensive end. Going to be one of the best. I got to be careful here, but he's going to be the best on BYU, so. Anything else about that, Larry? Mekhi Bernard, when you think about Bernard, he's not going to run the ball 25 times a game, but he's going to catch 4 or 5 passes. He's going to run it 10 times a game. And, he's going to get 80 to 100 total yards for you every game. So, yeah, I like Bernard there. Looking forward to the Utes taking on SUU in week 1 at Rice Eccles. On a Thursday.
Yes.
I'm excited for Coach Fitzgerald, man. New quarterback in Bronson Barron. Justin Miller had been at SU for like 7 years. Great program guy. Had a great year last year for him. SUU picked 3rd, I believe, in the UAC preseason poll, which is crazy. Fitzgerald's done a great job turning that program around. I know Utah Tech fans are hoping that Lance Anderson is able to do it as quickly and get good as quickly as SUU has under Fitzgerald. But let's say Fitzgerald wins, I don't know. Let's say he wins like 8 games this year. People might come a-calling, right, Larry?
Yes.
For Coach Fitz. And the future of the UAC is precarious right now. Is that the right word?
No.
So we're hoping that it's still a league, but I know the long-term forecast might be that Utah Tech needs to somehow get into the big sky. And maybe SUU as well, getting back in there. But we're focused on one game at a time, right, Larry? We're focused on this season, huh?
Yes.
It's The Ethicist with Mr. Val in the Sport Hole.
Well, we don't have Mr. Val. Why don't we have Mr. Val, Larry? Did you call him?
No.
Lack of planning by you, huh?
Yes.
So me and you will just answer this question the best we can. We don't have the resume or background or education that Mr. Val does, who is our regular ethicist on the program. Fire away. Who you got?
Hey, Sport Hole, Larry. I was calling for Mr. Val, but I guess I will settle for you two. I'm wondering if it's ethical to rat out your neighbors for not taking care of their lawn to the HOA. Thank you.
No, it's not ethical. How dare you these people that go to the HOA should be locked up. First of all, the HOA is the Gestapo. HOAs can go to hell. How dare these HOAs that take a bunch of money every month to do nothing dare tell the guy to clean his yard or do anything? It's his property. Huh? If he wants to paint his house yellow, that's his house. These HOAs get way out of control, Larry. And anybody who is going to snitch, that's unethical. That's the final ruling. You go knock on your neighbor's door and say, hey, do you need some help? You shame them. You shame them face to face. Hey, I've noticed your yard looks like garbage. Do you need some help pulling some weeds or whatever, mowing your lawn? You shame them first. If they're belligerent, then you just go back to your house and you watch Netflix. You don't go to the HOA. That's against the code. People that go to the HOA are not welcome here in the Sport Hole, right, Larry?
No.
So heavens no. It's a great question. I wonder what Mr. Val would say. I understand the argument. Look, you got the HOA. They're trying to keep the whole neighborhood up, so the resale value of the home. Nobody's selling any homes right now, okay? Don't worry about that. Nobody's buying your crappy house. This is America. If you want to put, a big block. One of my neighbors has it's awesome. He has a big stone in his yard, huge, and it has a big Minnesota it might be Bernsey, has a big Minnesota Vikings decal on it. Bless him. I don't know if that's against the code or not. I don't care. It's his home. It's his homestead. I mean, you think Wyatt Earp had a HOA back in the day telling him what to do? No. So my ruling is forget the HOA. Get them out. We got to disempower these people. Go to your neighbor and shame them. And then if that doesn't work, you go back home.
The Sport Hole.
Sports.
Watch out for your wives now. That's all I'm going to say. Watch out for your wives.
From the first half. As we have 2:48 to go in this first half, play action fake by Smith. Cranks up, throws far side, cut. It's cut by Paris Warren. He's gone. Touchdown, Utah.
Sport Hole. Should Alex Smith have been the first inductee to the Utes Ring of Honor at Rice-Eccles?
Yes, of course. I just saw this. Deseret News Report in KSL. Ring of Honor. At Rice-Eccles Stadium, Alex Smith will be the first inductee this season, and absolutely it's got to be him. The four most important people in the history of Utah football are Kyle Whittingham, Urban Meyer, Alex Smith, and Cam Rising. That's your four. I know Cam's recent, so he won't get his Ring of Honor entry for a while. They're going to get guys like Luther Ellis and Scott Mitchell and Eric Weddle and Star Lotulele and Steve Smith and Paul Kruger and Nate Orchard and Drez Anderson and Tom Hackett and Eric Rowe. But Alex should be number one. So that's cool. I don't know, Larry, do you know if it comes with a number retirement or something like that? Do you have any idea?
No.
It should. They should be able to retire numbers. And, Whittingham will get a statue. He won't just get a Ring of Honor. And people might say, well, Urban was there for 2 years. He's going to be in the Ring of Honor. Yes. Yes, he is. Absolutely. Of course. And, of course, Cam, especially if Cam wins a Big 12 championship this year. That would be crazy. And if he does, and if he beats BYU, then Cam is unquestionably the greatest Ute ever. You can have an argument now that it's Alex because of the undefeated season and how we beat BYU. But some say, no, it's Cam now, I'd say this year will solidify it. If he beats BYU, never play BYU. If he beats them this year, if he wins a Big 12 championship, goes to a playoff, it's got to be Cam. I'm rooting for Cam. I'm a little worried. You worried, Larry? A little bit worried?
Yes.
sometimes when you have those injuries, they crop up, again and again and again. You can't get right again, but hopefully he is. And what makes him good is that he will extend plays, and he doesn't run it a ton, but he does put his body on the line. He takes big hits, and he runs on third downs and stuff. So that's kind of a big part of his game. So, but yes, Alex Smith is the hero of Utah, because it's not just what he does at Utah for Utah. It's what he does in the pros and the respect he has in the pros, and he breaks his leg and comes back and takes the Redskins to the playoffs. And the relationship he had with Andy Reid, with Kansas City, and Travis Kelce, and how much he helped Kelce, and then he turned the reins over to Mahomes and was basically his mentor. It's hard to find somebody in the league who has more respect than Alex Smith. Who's not a super duper duper star like Tom Brady or somebody, or Peyton Manning. Alex Smith is one of those guys, and that's awesome that they're going to be honoring him this year in the Ring of Honor at Rice-Eccles Stadium.
Letter to the Sport Hole. You can write to the Sport Hole at 900-3776.
Letter to the Sport Hole is brought to you by Bucks Ace Hardware. Bucks Ace, 3 Southern Utah locations. Check out Bucks Ace, Dino Crossing, Santa Clara, and of course Hurricane. And their Hurricane store is about a month and change away, a couple months away. The 40,000 square foot brand new Bucks Ace, which is going to knock your socks off. People will go to that for miles. It's going to have everything: ice cream, food, clothing, all the regular stuff, the best hardware, gun department, all that stuff. Cafe Rio's going in. That is going to be an amazing setup just down the road of where they're currently located in Hurricane. There's a character letter from Dalton, right?
Yes.
Dear Sport Hole, what's the sport that's most embarrassing to be bad at as an adult? This is a great question. I was playing t-ball with my kid yesterday, and I was thinking he's swinging with one hand, and he's just kind of doing, but he's having fun. He's enjoying it. And anytime I go up to him and I'm like, hey, no, here, hold the bat correctly and just take a good swing, and here's how you do it. He wants nothing to do with it anymore. So I've realized I've got to just let the kids, hey, teacher, leave the kids alone type of deal. And, he's swinging like, he's got problems, but at least he's playing and having fun. So after a year or two, maybe then I go with the Tom Amansky VHS tape, get your elbow up, that type of thing. Correct his bad habits, but I just like that he's kind of playing and enjoying it right now. I say that because even if you're not a baseball player, you're an American, and you should know how to throw a baseball and catch a baseball and swing a bat. That's it. My answer is baseball/softball. Anytime you see a 40, 50-year-old guy and it's like the company softball picnic thing and he doesn't know how to throw a baseball, you lose all respect, right, Larry?
Yes.
So you don't want to put yourself or your child in that position when they're 50 and playing at the company picnic. You got to be able to throw a ball, specifically a baseball. You can say golf, because golf is more important because you're networking out there in business, and that's where business gets done, and you should be. But everybody sucks at golf. I mean, in St. George, there's a much higher percentage of guys, golf bros, who are good at golf, but everybody says they suck at golf, even the good ones, and it's kind of expected that you get up and shank it, Pickleball, everyone's good at. You can play pickleball your first time and be good at. Basketball, you don't play basketball a lot when you're an adult, and there's a lot of bad players. As long as you can dribble, you're fine. Football, you never play. So my answer is softball/baseball. You don't want to be the guy, a grown man, who can't throw a baseball. You don't want to be squints, or not squints. You don't want to be smalls. when you're 50, right? And it's not like you have to be good. You're an American. You got to learn how to throw a baseball. Okay?
Yes.
Are you an American, Larry?
Yes.
I'm not sure about that.
I think we can relate this back to education and how we are continuing to try to strive to
Ivan Myron.
Thank you, Utah. Thank you, sweetheart.
Genius or Jabroni in the Sport Hole.
Hey, buddy. Thank you, Larry. All right, Genius or Jabroni. We're doing the Anthony Edwards thing.
Yes.
Here's what Anthony Edwards said. Oh, go ahead, Sambo.
Sport Hole. How dumb is Anthony Edwards' comment about Michael Jordan in the 90s?
Well, it's typical. We've heard this argument before about the plumbers and all that stuff. Here's what Anthony Edwards said, quote, I didn't watch it back in the day, so I can't speak on it. They say it was tougher back then than it is now, but I don't think anybody had skill back then. Michael Jordan was the only one that really had skill. You know what I mean? So that's why when they saw Kobe Bryant, they were like, oh my gosh. But now everybody has skill. Here's what I'll say. He's right in the way that post-Jordan, when isolation basketball on the perimeter became the way to score in the NBA, before Jordan, Bird and Magic and Isaiah and Julius and Oscar, going back, you didn't isolate at the top of the key and go between your legs. That only happened starting with Jordan in the late 80s. So all of those guys played within a system, and Bird was running around and ping-ponging it to McHale, who was ping-ponging it to Parrish, over to Ainge in the corner, back to Bird for a layup. That's how they played. And so you could say, Bird as a small forward doesn't have near the perimeter skills that Kevin Durant does, because Durant can get his own shot and go between his legs and behind the back and step back and hit a three from 28 feet. And Bird never did that one time. And my thing is just, they didn't play that way back then. And this way of basketball is much worse. So yes, they have a better skill set at a worse kind of basketball these days. Edwards is correct, because every possession is a pick and roll, an isolation, or a jacked up three, right? The equivalent of isolation back pre-Jordan and really not even pre-Jordan, whatever the heck they're doing now, the isolation was down in the paint. Those were the isolation possessions where you throw it down to Hakeem. So he is right. All of these guys have more perimeter dribbling, get your own shot skills, because they do it every possession. Back then, they played a more European style, and everybody was playing like Manu Ginobili. So they didn't have to dribble themselves open. And Jordan, for all the credit we give Jordan, he's the one who ruined basketball, because post-Jordan, think of when Jordan retires in 98, the NBA sucks for a long while. You have those horrible NBA finals, and you've got Iverson and Carmelo. Even though I love Iverson, they're all isolators. And that was because Jordan, they all thought, that's how you be a star in this league. And the quality of play went down. Pretty good analysis, wouldn't you say, Larry?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
That's what I would say. I would say he is right, but for the wrong reasons. Thank you, Larry.
The Sport Hole.
Sports.
Sport Hole. Who will you be cheering for on February 1st at Rupp Arena? Coach Calipari or Coach Pope?
All right, so the SEC basketball schedule, who cares? I mean, I don't want to talk about basketball, but I'll be cheering for Coach Pope. He's hosting the Razorbacks February 1st in Kentucky. Of course, I'm cheering for Coach Pope. Calipari has a ton of players, like he always does. but I'll be cheering for Coach Pope to do really well. I love Pope. I love his positivity and his charisma. And I think what he's going to try to bring to Kentucky is a sustainable product. Calipari didn't have a sustainable product. He won one championship. For all the talent and NBA guys he produced, he won one title. Pope's going to try to bring back what UConn has, which is, yes, they've got NBA talent, but they've got guys who stay a little longer. That's how you have long-term success. So he'll get eaten alive if he doesn't win, doesn't go to a Sweet 16 in his first 2 years at least. But I like Pope. I'll be cheering for him. Boom.
A no-hitter. If you have a sombrero, throw it to the sky.
This day in sports.
Bill's Lane said stop that nonsense because they were starting to butt heads. Oh.
Tyson with a left hook, a right uppercut. Down goes McNeely again.
McNeely's hurt this time, Steve. He's very hurt.
That was not correct. That was not correct. That was not correct.
He quit. That's it. He quit. McNeely has quit.
He didn't quit. His corner threw in the towel.
He didn't quit at all. McNeely didn't quit at all.
McNeely didn't quit at all. He put his heart out.
On this day, 1995, Tyson's first fight out of jail. He was in jail for 3 years in prison. And he beat Peter McNeely in 89 seconds. Iron Mike. Quick break. Back with more right after this on the Andy Thompson Show with Rustin Burnside. Thanks for being with us.